Got a friend.
It's a yo-yo.
Gears to the Yankees means the things you learned when you were young.
Right.
Getting spiders is... Okay. Thank you. Last week, we started speaking about the 9 days a little bit. We explained that there's 3 different times. There was the Shavuos B'Tammuz of 3 weeks, then from Rosh Chodesh, and then Shavuos and Chalboi. And we spoke about last week that from Rosh Chodesh, the Isur from Rosh Chodesh are basically Binyan Shel Simcha and Atiyah Shel Simcha. That's starting from Rosh Chodesh, that's according to everybody. And then Shavuos and Chalboi, the Gemara says, Sipur and Kibbutz, washing and taking haircuts is Asur, and Ashkenazim start haircuts from Shavuos B'Tammuz already, and washing clothing we start from Rosh Chodesh Av already. That's Shavuos and Chalboi. And then there's another thing of Rechitza, which is not even brought down in the Gemara. We'll go into the details Mitzvah soon. The Rechitza is something that's Asur from a minhag, it's brought down in the Rishonim, and we don't wash from Rosh Chodesh Av and on. Now the question is, in the Gemara, basically what we see in the Gemara for the Issa of Kibbutz, washing, we're going to deal with washing first, and then we'll get involved in Rechitza of cleaning yourselves. So in the Gemara basically we find the Issa of Kvisa is only from Shavuos and Chalboi. The week of Tish is an Issa of Kvisa. Rosh Chodesh Av is the minhag of the Ashkenazim to start from Rosh Chodesh Av. Now before we go into the halacha, I want to speak out one interesting thing we see about Rosh Chodesh Av. Rosh Chodesh Av was yesterday, and it says in last week's Pasha, Pasha's Masai, it's going through all the travels of Klal Yisrael. So it says there, Vayisim B'Kadesh V'Yachnu B'Hoy Rahar B'Ktzei Eretz Edom V'Yal Aaron HaKoyen El Hoy Rahar Al Pi Hashem V'Yam Hashem. It says that Aaron died in Hoy Rahar, and it says over there B'Shnas HaBon Tes Menisam Mitzrayim V'Chodesh HaChamishi V'Echad L'Chodesh. When did Aaron HaKoyen die? In the 5th month. The 5th month, we start counting the months from Nisan. So the 5th month from Nisan is Av. So when did Aaron HaKoyen die? Chodesh HaChamishi, in the 5th month, Be'echad HaChodesh, in the first day of the month. Aaron HaKoyen died on Rosh Chodesh Av, which was yesterday. But Aaron HaKoyen's Yahrzeit. Now the Rishonim already make this diuk in the pasuk. We don't find any other Yahrzeit mentioned in the Torah. Not the Ovis, not Moshe. There's no other Yahrzeit mentioned in the Torah besides the Yahrzeit of Aaron HaKoyen.
How do we know Moshe's?
Moshe will learn it out. It's Zion Adar, but the Gemara learns it out. It's a medrash. Yeah, it's not a Gemara. It's not in the Torah. The Torah doesn't say when Moshe Rabbeinu died. It just says when Aaron HaKoyen died on Rosh Chodesh Av. And the Rishonim really want to know why is Aaron's Yahrzeit the only Yahrzeit mentioned, and the Rabbeinu Bechaya, the Rabbeinu Bachya on last week's Pasha says that the reason why it says Aaron HaKoyen's Yahrzeit is because to show us that Misas Tzadikim is like the Churban Beis Hamikdash. That's what he says, and that's why it happens. It says Chodesh Av. The Churban was during Av. That's why it mentions Aaron HaKoyen's Yahrzeit. Now it's interesting to note that it said about Aaron HaKoyen when he died already before in Parshas Chukas, and where it said Aaron HaKoyen died. There it doesn't say his Yahrzeit. In Parshas Masai, when it's saying about the Masois of Klal Yisrael, and they went to Hoy Rahar, and there Aaron died, and it throws in his Yahrzeit. Why is it throwing his Yahrzeit here? Why did it say it in Parshas Chukas, where it says that he died? Here, Agav, it throws in his Yahrzeit. So the Achronim explain, I don't think the Rabbeinu Bechaya himself says it, I think they explain with the Rabbeinu Bechaya that Pashas Masai is always the Shabbos right before Rosh Chodesh Av. Right, so we want to put it close to Rosh Chodesh Av and tell us that Aaron HaKohen Yahrzeit was now, and it's for the Churban Habayis, which happened in Av. But I've heard from a few places where I've seen it and I've heard another. Take this a step further. Why Aaron HaKohen? He died in Chodesh Av, and Mitzvah Tzadikim is as bad to us as the Churban Habayis. We know that Aaron had a very big milah. Aaron's milah was Oyev Shalom, Roidev Shalom. It says when after Aaron HaKohen died, everyone cried for Aaron. Why Rashi says over there? Because everyone was affected by the mitzvah of Aaron. Because Aaron made peace between people. Two people were fighting. He went to one person and says he wants to make peace with you. He went to the other person, even though it never happened. Aaron was busy making peace between people. Now the truth is, if you think about it, Aaron was one person, and Klai Yisrael were how many people? Klai Yisrael was 600,000 people from 20 to 60. The Beit Bechai elsewhere makes the cheshbon that when the Yidden left Mitzrayim, there was something like 9 million people. Makes such a cheshbon. How many people there were? They left Mitzrayim because there's 20 to 60 was just the men. They had ladies and they had the kids, and there was no the Shishim Keresecha. They make the whole cheshbon that there's something like 9 million people left Mitzrayim. Now Aaron HaKohen
was there of Rav.
Was there?
And the year of Rav.
And the year of Rav. Yeah. Aaron HaKohen was one person, and he made shalom between how many people? Even if it's busy a whole day, we all know if two people are in a fight, how many hours it takes to settle it. They can sit there and 1 hour and counseling and then marriage counseling, and it goes on and on for hours and hours. You end up, if you're lucky, you got a drop further. Maybe you got a drop further. Here, Aaron HaKohen, the whole Klai Yisrael cried because Aaron HaKohen was at. What does that mean? So the answer is that Aaron HaKohen, he didn't physically go ahead to each person and make peace. It was impossible. But Aaron HaKohen did. He brought to Klai Yisrael what it means, peace. He showed them what peace means. And once he had this hashbah, as we call it, of shalom, it spread out. I heard from my felder this week, Shabbos. He said a story that there was once a person who came to Vilna, and he got a ride in the Balagala. The Balagala, the cab drivers, and the Balagala asks him, the driver asks him, where are you from? Tells him, what are you learning? He told him. So he figured, okay, I'll ask him why he's learning, then the conversation is over. But it wasn't over. He asked him which Masechta, he said which Masechta, which Blat, and also started talking to him and learning. And the guy is saying, well, you're a cab driver. How do you know so much of learning? So he says, because we once had somebody here who was called the Vilna Goyen, not so long ago. Someone in Vilna, his name is the Vilna Goyen, Rabbi. And so I said, so did you have Shaykhs then? No. Was he the Rav of the city? He wasn't the Rav of the city. Was he the Rosh Hashiva of the city? He wasn't the Rosh Hashiva of the city. So who was he? He was a person who sat and learned in his corner a whole day and a whole night. He says, what does that have to do with you? So he said, his learning affected everybody. That's what he said. The same thing over here with Aaron HaKohen. Aaron HaKohen, his shalom, his peace, affected everybody, even though he wasn't involved with every single person. The fact that he wanted peace so much, therefore, it spread and it made peace amongst everybody. That's how Aaron HaKohen was able to affect so many people. Just by working on the midah of peace, and he affected so many people. So now, it comes time, Rosh Chodesh Av, and we know the Churban Bayis was because of Sinas Chinam. So that we understand even better, even a step further than the Beit Bechaya. The Torah tells us that Aaron HaKohen died when? Rosh Chodesh Av. Rosh Chodesh Av, Aaron HaKohen died. When Aaron HaKohen died, there was a void of Shalom. There's a big void now of Shalom. Someone who worked so much on peace, that was void. He may have left a certain amount of hashbois that tilted further, but the main source of the person who was making peace just left. That ultimately led, many generations later, to the middle of Sinas Chinam, and that's why Churban Bayis, because we know Churban Bayis wasn't because of Sinas Chinam. That's what the Torah is telling us. Aaron HaKohen died on Rosh Chodesh Av because to show us, and that's what led eventually to the Churban Bayis.
What about the driver?
What do you mean?
Was that Yom Kippur?
No, that was Tish B'Av. Yeah, and a Chlami. So we see from over here, there comes time the Chodesh Av, us Ashkenazim, we take back we take Mishmur to Shchalboy, we bring it to Chodesh Av, and we'll see there's certain leniencies that will make from Chodesh Av this week that we're not lenient in Shavuot Shchalboy because Shavuot Shchalboy is a time that everyone agrees to. You have to have the Chumrah of Kvisa of washing. From Chodesh Av, it's just Ashkenazim. We spoke last week from Shavuot Shchalboy is Mikra Adin. The Gemara says so. You can't find so many kulas. From a Chodesh Av already is our meaning of the Ashkenazim. And we'll see there are certain kulas because of that. But this, of Sinas Chinam, that we start from a Chodesh Av, that says in the Torah, that's the reason why after a Chodesh Av that everyone has to work on. That's for sure. And we know, unfortunately, lately, especially amongst our circles, there's been a lot of machlokes going on, a lot of fighting going on. And the way I like to say it is, we're fighting over things that aren't really negated to us even, and it's negated to other people. We're busy fighting about it. It's a time from Rosh Chodesh Av. At least let's hold ourselves back till after the Tish B'Av. Yeah, then we'll start again. At least let's start
fresh. The afternoon of the 10th.
Yeah, at least let's take a break now and focus on the main things, the grounds that we all have in common, and the grounds we don't have in common we'll leave for a different time. I find that it's getting a little bit out of hand, all these bickering. It's good. In these 9 days at least, even though it's not, this is easier than not washing and not, maybe not, for some people maybe not, but for most of us I'm hoping it's easier than not washing and not cleaning. At least this, that we should keep from a Chodesh Av, not to be busy with all these bickering and machlokesin that are really not negate our personal lives. Let's set it because it was lying on my heart for a while already. I see it's getting worse and worse, and it's good night to forget about it and just to move on. Now let's get to the halachas over here. So we spoke out that Isuk Kvisa starts Shavuot Shchalboy, we bring it back to Rosh Chodesh Av. Now Isuk Kvisa means washing clothing, ironing clothing, towels, linen. All these things are included in Kvisa. So what?
Ironing also?
Ironing, yeah.
Right.
Ironing also, giyotz.
Even though you don't use it?
Even if you don't use it. So the halacha is that Shavuot Shchalboy you're not allowed to wash, and I'm going to put it as one big thing from Rosh Chodesh Av. For the coolest we'll go to later on. We're talking for Ashkenazim, most of us here, so we'll go from Rosh Chodesh Av. From Rosh Chodesh Av, there's no washing, there's no ironing, everything has to be done beforehand. So there's an issur to do the actual washing during the 9 days, even if you're not going to wear it during the 9 days. Even if you want to put it away for after the 9 days, still the same issur, you're not allowed to wash, you're not allowed to iron. Why? Because it's going to take your thoughts away from the aveilus of the Churban Bayis. That's why you can't wash. Now, that also leads to that it's something that was washed before the 9 days, or ironed before the 9 days, and it's fresh, you're not allowed to put it on during the 9 days. That's the halacha here. Taf Kuf Nun Aleph. Shavuot Shchalboy Tes B'Av Asurim L'Saper U'Lechabes. Afilu Eini Reitz L'Loif She'ata El Nichlach HaTish B'Av It's still awesome. Then he says, there was a shayla about lighter washing. They had different styles of washing, and the Gemara says certain styles of washing was mutter. We come out that all our washing today is asur, but this is all our asur l'lovsha b'shvua zeh. It's asur to wear any clothing, even though it was washed beforehand. You're not allowed to put it on b'shvua zeh. You're not allowed to put it on during the 9 days.
What's the score for that? It must be a different score because it doesn't.
Because you're not being oisik with it, right? You're not being oisik with the kvisa during the 9 days. So why can't you put on something fresh?
Yeah.
So either the reason is because we don't want you to wash to put it on, or because of it itself. Putting on fresh itself is not.
Makes you feel too good.
Yeah, makes you feel too good.
Is that from Rosh Chodesh or from just during the week?
So we're Ashkenazim even for Rosh Chodesh. Rosh Chodesh is also to put on freshly laundered clothing, freshly laundered linen, towels. Everything should be washed beforehand, and it should be used somewhat before the 9 days. Now already in the 9 days, so what should have been done, should have been done. If it wasn't done, so what do? Let's say you didn't get a chance to put on all the clothing you want to wear. You didn't get a chance to use all the towels that you have to use over the 9 days, and all you have is freshly cleaned clothing or towels. What do? So,
Does it apply to tablecloths as well?
tablecloths as well. Yeah.
And sheets.
So what do you do? So the truth is, there's a difference between Shavuot Chalboy and the week beforehand. So, but it's not, especially this year, with Shavuot Chalboy is only 2 days. It's Sunday and Monday basically. Shavuot Chalboy. So you have too many days. It's definitely kedai. There are coolest that if someone didn't put it on beforehand, let's say a freshly clean shirt, right? You got them from the cleaners, and you didn't get a chance to put everything on beforehand. It's definitely kedai this year, especially that for at least those 2 days, Sunday and Monday, and Tuesday or Tish B'Av itself, not to put on a shirt that's freshly cleaned.
And Wednesday.
Was it till Chatzos? Till Chatzos, yeah. It's not kedai to put on. Yeah, it's almost 4 days. Yeah, it's not kedai.
I guess you can tell me this, but I thought that there were very few requirements for the 10th, for the morning of the 10th. You can't wear fresher winter clothes on the morning.
One second, it could be you could. Maybe you're right.
Just me.
No.
1 second.
Haircut, all those things.
No. I think Krisa says mutter right away. Krisa says mutter miyad lachar tainis.
Just meet in one.
No problem. Digital light.
Krisa is mutter right after the tainis.
That's what I thought.
We don't. No. 1 second.
So you're allowed to wear new clothes right after.
No. You're not. I don't think you're allowed to wear new clothes after the tainis. I don't think. I'm pretty sure not to have to find out halacha.
Not till after Chatzos?
I'm pretty sure even wearing it is not. It's even wearing fresh clothing is till after. It's till chatzos. Yeah.
The only thing you don't do is just sit up and you can wear shoes. You can sit up on a chair and you can wear shoes.
Here it
That
is.
happens after Chasais and it's the same thing.
You're talking about Chatzos on
No, Tish B'Av on
I'm talking about
Wednesday. I'm talking about Wednesday.
You're not fasting.
You're not fasting. So you're not fasting. You can wear shoes and you can sit on a chair. Where by Chatzos you wear.
You can sit on a chair 24 hours early.
Yeah, here it is. At chatzos, you have hudin shlo lilchoitz v'merchitz u'lesaper u'lechabet at chatzos. Also, everything is aslo chatzos.
Until it's the next day?
Till chatzos Sunday, yeah.
Except the shoes.
Unless if it's Erev Shabbos. That won't make it.
That would be Thursday. Would be Tish B'Av.
What?
Thursday.
You could do it at night. When Thursday is Tisha B'Av.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
It's a nidcha. You could do it. You could do the laundry.
If it's nidcha, you could. If it's a that's what I was getting confused with. If it's a nidcha, you don't eat it at night. If it's a nidcha, then there's a difference. That's why we got mixed up. Last year was a nidcha. Last year was a nitcha.
Yeah.
Last year was a nitcha. It was pushed to Sunday.
Oh, that's all.
That's why I got mixed up. Because
Oh,
if
it
it's a
got pushed
nitcha, we
off.
say, yeah. No, but
They
it's,
said
Because then you're in the 11th of Av.
right. No, but if it's a nitcha, even at night it's still usher.
Right.
But the next morning, right away, you could do it. That's why a nitcha.
haircut you could eat. You could do
Yeah, that's when it's a nitcha. But it's a regular Tish B'Av like this year, when it falls on a regular day, it's also till chatzos the next day. Till chatzos the next day, everything is usher. Kvisa and mechitza, everything is usher. So, yeah, so there are some people that will, if you didn't put on clothing before the 9 days, they'll give you coolest, you could put it on during the 9 days. Some people say try to put it on the floor a little bit to make it not so fresh. This type of ways of getting out of it. But this year, especially with Shavuot Chalboy, is only 2 or 3 days. You have nothing, it's definitely kedai if you know that you didn't put on your clothing before the 9 days, at least put it on now this week for a couple of minutes. This way, Shavuot Chalboy, you won't be putting on anything fresh. Same thing with towels or linen. Now this is all if it's not so fresh, but something that's soiled and it's dirty, you're allowed to change. That's why there's no akpada on socks, underwear, these type of things. There's no akpada. These things you wear just because of dirt, zay, to keep the sweat away from you. You're not wearing it to look good or for freshness. So these things aren't as common. These things definitely put on fresh ones.
So those kind of things, unless you absolutely need them, you still don't wash them during that time. You don't
No, you
wear
don't
them,
wash.
you don't wash them.
We don't wash at all during the. I'm not talking about washing, unless you have nothing else to wear and you have to wash it. But there's no heter to wash if you have other things for sure not. And we try to stay away from washing. The only time we'll be matter washing is soiled things that are going to get ruined if you don't wash them during the 9 days. Like Baruch we had the first night of the 9 days. Right away, my daughter never has accidents. The first night of the 9 days, had an accident in a bed. And I came the next day to the Chayil, and someone told me his daughter also had an accident, and also the same thing. So it seems like there's a sort of school in the air that the kids is soiled linen during the 9 days.
Just so you can walk.
But then you definitely have to wash it. Then you definitely they're nervous, yeah. If someone feels it, right? If we don't feel it, the kids feel it.
Yeah, they feel like we should feel it.
Yeah, we should feel it, yeah. So the something that's soiled and it's going to get ruined, you definitely can wash it during the 9 days. If there's a way of soaking it and then washing it after 9 days, you can do that. But usually something that's really soiled, if you don't clean it out, it's going to stay stained even after the 9 days. Therefore, something soiled, especially from a kid, you're allowed to wash it out after the 9 days. Only something that's going to get ruined. Regular clothing won't get ruined if you leave it after 9 days, unless you spilled something on it, an oil stain, let's say. If you don't wash it out right away, and it sits, it'll ruin it. Then you could clean it out. If you could clean the spot itself, then it's better. If not, then you're allowed to wash it, that it shouldn't get ruined. That's kvisa and wearing fresh clothing. Now, even though some people are makel wearing fresh clothing, it's not really makel in it. So if you have nothing else to wear, you can put it on. It's better not to put on fresh clothing. But a suit that comes fresh from the cleaners, something like that, that's very hard to find a heter on. Or shirts, maybe. Shirts, you don't need them so freshly pressed. It's just that.
Unless the guy has no other suit.
Even if there's no other suit, if it's freshly suit from the cleaners, even if there's no other suit, you should ask your rabbi before you do it. That already is something that's not the norm to do. A fresh suit you put on every single day. It's a norm thing to do, to put on. I'm not doing more than the usual. A freshly clean suit, you're not putting on every single day. To go put on during the 9 days, that's already a different gather. Together you should know something that's you're not doing because it's not a simcha to do it. You do it regular every single day. Then you'll find more coolness.
You could do it for the Shabbos.
Even for Shabbos, a freshly clean suit, you have to know. You have to ask. Even for Shabbos.
He's very neat.
Yeah.
For him, it's not a simcha to wear a new suit or whatever. He's a neat freak.
If the guy's a neat freak and he puts on freshly clean pants every single day, then he's different. It's called it. We'll see in a second.
Having a suit, then is also if it's him. If it's a not him.
Yeah. That's an issue. So
the
artist people, yeah. But that's only the jacket. You don't have that. The pants I hear people are very makbid. They should be 100% clean. Yeah. If they wore it once already, it goes to the cleaners. But on jackets, you don't find it that much. So that. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll get to Istinus in a second by Rechitza, and we'll see it applies even to Kvisa, to wear fresh. But it's definitely better if a person could not to wear freshly laundered clothing, and especially Shavuot Chalba, which is next week. If you know you don't have enough for next week, put it on during this week, and then put it on again next week. That's Kvisa. Now comes Issa of Rechitza, to washing the body. Now, the wash itself is not brought down in the Gemara. The Gemara says kvisa and taking a haircut. It doesn't say anything about washing yourself. This comes from the Rishonim. The Torah brings down that there's a minhag not to wash yourself during the 9 days. In Halacha it says, Yesh noyagin shlo l'chortz m'Rosh Chodesh. Not to wash yourselves from Rosh Chodesh. It's a minhag not to wash yourself from Rosh Chodesh, and we all keep that minhag.
Rosh Chodesh starts at night in the afternoon. That's when you do, or in the morning.
No, Rosh Chodesh starts at night.
No.
So from that night. So from
Monday, Sunday night. Sunday night.
Biggest mistakes ever.
The question then, if you went to a Jewish mincha on Sunday evening,
Yeah.
what is
If someone
the
davens,
position?
you asked me a question?
Yeah.
If you daven mincha ma'ariv early Sunday morning, from after Sunday evening, Sunday morning, Sunday evening, yeah, if that ma'ariv is in the morning, you're really in trouble.
Which
Well, the same Michigan guy.
No, this makes sense. This is very
If you daven ma'ariv after plag, you're not allowed to eat meat anymore. And you're not allowed to take showers anymore. It starts a 9-day start after Ma'ariv.
I heard a different opinion from a more Asra Bashul.
Oh yeah?
Daven early, you can still eat meat till 8.
Okay, but it's, the halacha says.
I'm not just telling you what I heard.
Does it have to do with your
Because I specifically asked that question one year.
Yeah.
Specifically asked that question one year because it was.
No, the halacha says.
It was Erev
Did he say it had to do with what your consciousness of it is? You're doubting
It
the
might be that
acceptance?
you're keeping in mind that if you keep in mind that you're going to eat later before it
No,
gets
it says in halacha. It says in halacha if someone.
Like lighting
If it says in halacha that if somebody, halacha says that somebody is. Let's say the Chodesh is Sunday. Chodesh Av is Sunday. So if they daven Ma'ariv, Motzei Shabbos, early, they used to daven Ma'ariv, Motzei Shabbos early also. In the olden days, they daven Ma'ariv early every single day. Those who were down south last night, all the minyanim in the shus that have mincha, then a break and have a Ma'ariv, they daven mincha and right away Ma'ariv. Because it was dark outside and you couldn't see anything. The olden days when you couldn't see at night, Ma'ariv, everyone davened early, even Shabbos. They went home when they made a dal afterwards. So the halacha is.
Yesterday it was dark at 5 p.m.
Yeah. And if you don't have lights, where there was blackout down south,
you can't daven early. You can daven early.
yeah, you could daven Ma'ariv early. So the halacha says if you daven Ma'ariv early, even on Shabbos, then you can't eat meat afterwards. Even on Shabbos, if it's Chodesh Sunday, and then everyone daven Ma'ariv early, you can't eat meat afterwards. So it says that within the halacha is that if everyone davens Ma'ariv and you didn't daven Ma'ariv, what's the halacha? Are you nigra? Do you go after the tzibur or not? That's the shaila over there. Are you nigra after the tzibur and you also start the 9 days for the tzibur daven Ma'ariv or not? But if you yourself daven Ma'ariv, there's no question about it. The 9 days start after you daven Ma'ariv. And the Mishnah says over there, V'hua din Rosh Chodesh. If someone daven Ma'ariv early on Rosh Chodesh Av. I found it before. Okay, I'll find it for you afterwards. Yeah.
Eat before you go to shul.
Just tell you what I heard. No, you don't daven Ma'ariv.
No,
8 that night. That's it.
Yeah. Well, we checked it up, and the halacha says that if you daven Ma'ariv early, you start with Chodesh Ma'ariv early. After you daven Ma'ariv already, it already starts in 9 days. So what are we holding over here? Oh, Rechitza. So now we're up to Rechitza. So about washing. So washing, it says the minhag is that you don't wash from Rosh Chodesh and on. Now, today, people became very lenient with the washing. And the reason is because, why is Rechitza also? So Rechitza is also in Yom Kippur, Rechitza is also. And there it says by Yom Kippur and Rechitza is also. What type of Rechitza is also? If someone's hands gets dirty, right? We don't wash past the knuckles on Yom Kippur. Let's say your face gets dirty, your hands get dirty further up. You're allowed to clean it off. You're allowed to take off the dirt from your hand, even on Yom Kippur. That's not called Rechitza. Taking off dirt is not called Rechitza. So it says in Yom Kippur, in the Hilchos Yom Kippur, if someone gets dirty, lichluch, you're allowed to wash it off. Nitfav dam, some blood came on his hands. The only rechitza we asked is a chitza of timing of enjoyment. But if it's not enjoyment, then you're allowed to wash yourself. Now starts the big question. It used to be rechitza was a timing, it was the whole thing. Rechitza, they go to a schwitz and they had a sauna. That was rechitza. Today, most of us are doing rechitza, are not doing it for timing. We're doing it because for us, sweat is called dirt. Same thing, lichluch, that you have in Allah, in Yom Kippur, you're allowed to clean it off. The reason why a lot of us are makbid to take a shower every single day is because we clean it. Anything, any zayah that we have on ourselves bothers us, and we call it istinus. An istinus in the poskim is of somebody who can't stand even a drop of dirt on themselves. So therefore, it started becoming a kula to wash yourself, even during the 9 days, even a shower during the 9 days. But one thing you have to realize, there's still an rechitza during the 9 days. So it's a rechitza of timing hot water, the enjoyment of hot water in the shower, that already is a rechitza of timing. If you're taking lukewarm, that you shouldn't have to freeze in the shower, that's something else. You're not mechuyev to freeze. But if you put on hot and you enjoy the hot water, that's already a rechitza of timing. A. And B, this that a istinus could take a shower, it has to be someone who's really an istinus. Now everybody has to know for themselves. I think it's become more and more common. I used to shower many years ago to a posek about taking a shower during the 9 days. He said, no, you can't. I said, how about a person who hasn't missed a shower for the past 10-15 years? Is he allowed to take a shower during the 9 days? He says, yes. That was his answer. He says, what do you mean? Never missed? I said, for the past 10 years, the person didn't miss a shower at all. So a lot of people are very makbid.
It's the same thing as the guy.
Except on Shabbos.
Yeah, except on Shabbos. Yeah, except on Shabbos. Some people, it comes 2 days Yom Tov, and the hardest part about 2 days Yom Tov for them is that they can't take a shower. 3 Yom Tov for sure. Then it's Pekuch Nefesh already. But I'm talking about 2 days Yom Tov. For some people, the hardest part of 2 days Yom Tov is because they can't clean themselves. Such people are called an istinus. And such people, most poskim will give a head to do rechitza even during the 9 days because they're called an istinus. But don't go overboard, meaning hot shower is definitely no heter for. Hot meaning you're enjoying the heat of the shower, not taking away the cold. It's 2 different things. If you put in some hot water because you have to be able to get under the water, that's fine. If you're making it hot because you enjoy the heat of the shower, that you should refrain from during the 9 days for sure. If someone could refrain from washing himself b'chlal during the 9 days, much better. But if you consider yourself an istinus, which most of the people today are, then you have had to take a shower during the 9 days. This is all the week before Tish B'Av. Shavuot Shechal Boy, if you could be more makbid not to take a shower, it's better. This is not so hard because it's only 2 days, 3 days. So you take a shower Sunday, but if you can refrain Monday, Tish B'Av and Tish B'Av, 2 days, you hold yourself back, and maybe you could die. Because Shavuot Shechal Boy is definitely more stringent than the week beforehand. If someone can hold themselves back, Erev Tish B'Av, taking a shower and waiting till after Tish B'Av, it's better. Definitely better.
That would be Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday.
So if someone takes Sunday,
So you couldn't take a shower on Sunday. That's Shavuot Shechal Boy.
Right, I'm saying that's just someone. It's hard. Even Shavuot Shechal Boy, he's an istinus, and it's hard. He can't wait for Friday. He's gonna wait Shabbos, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, take a shower.
Yeah.
So you take one on Sunday.
Yeah.
Right?
Even though it's
Shavuot Shechal Boy.
Erev Tish B'Av,
maybe you should refrain from doing it, even though you'll be uncomfortable on Tish B'Av. It's kedai.
You're
Because
supposed to be uncomfortable.
so that's the question. That's where the question starts from. The Isser Rechitza is a way of making me feel uncomfortable, or is Isser Rechitza because you're enjoying the Rechitza itself? That's the shaila.
It's not both?
So I asked this question recently to Shlomo Miller, and I said to him, if you don't wash in 9 days, and Istinus has had to wash during the 9 days. Now, we all enjoy the feeling of after a clean shower. We feel clean. That lasts for half a day, 3/4 of a day, and then we need another one. So we wait till 24 hours, whatever our schedule is, but that fresh feeling doesn't last very long. As the hours go on during the day, it diminishes, and then 24 hours later, usually, if you're an Istinus, you're taking another shower. So I said, how about that fresh feeling when you come after the shower and you feel fresh? Is that asur? And he told me, no, it's not the Isser. The Isser is the Rechitza itself. The fresh feeling they have afterwards is not why they're asur the Rechitza. The Isser Rechitza is the washing, the tainug coming from the washing. Not the fresh feeling. It's a big difference. If this is the fresh feeling afterwards, I mean, the din is, you should feel uncomfortable. Like he was saying, I don't think a din you have to feel uncomfortable. You can have enjoyment. To go make myself feel uncomfortable, I don't know if you have to do that.
Does the halacha of swimming during the 9 days come under the getter of rechitza? Is that why?
That's rechitza tainug, yeah. That's tainug.
Swimming is a rechitza shel tainug.
Yeah, that's tainug.
What if it's for exercise?
Yes, if someone's doing it for exercise or for therapy, something else. Therapy for sure has had to do it. If a person's doing it, on a regular basis for exercise, he needs it for his health, you have to ask your rabbi. And there are time for it. There are time if someone's doing it plain for exercise. The reason why they don't go swimming in camps is because all the camps basically are doing it for tainug. Swimming is for tainug. That's called rechitza tainug. But if someone's doing it because he needs it for health reasons,
there's an element of sakana as well.
It's an element of sakana. But the main problem is the rechitza. The main problem is the rechitza. And there's one more thing I want to speak out. which is another thing which I find very common mistake, is Erev Tisha B'Av. Erev Tisha B'Av, we all know we have a Sudas HaMafsekes. Before Tisha B'Av, we have to eat, and you're not allowed to eat more than one tafshil, one cooked thing. So people want to eat before the tainis, so what do? They eat a whole meal, they bench, then you sit down on the floor and you eat the Suda HaMafsekes, which is the mistake. It cannot be done. If someone's eating a whole Suda, and then he's benching, and he's washing right away again, or making another bracha right away, and sitting down on the floor, that cannot be done. It's a bracha levatala. You're not allowed to bench, and then wash again right away. Because what are you doing that for? It's a bracha she'ein tzricha. If you know you're continuing to eat, why are you benching for? So why are you doing it for? Because you want to make sure you're not eating the Suda HaMafsekes yet. You want to eat your whole Suda, then bench, and now I'm a Suda HaMafsekes. You can't do that. You can't do that. That's why in halacha it says that what you should do is you have to eat before the tainis. So you eat a full meal before 2-3 hours before the night. Then you go out, you daven mincha. You have a hefzik, you daven mincha. After mincha, I'm starting a new suda. Then you can wash again and sit on the floor and eat only one tafshil. But this that people do, they eat a whole suda, they bench, and right away they sit down, or they take a little walk around the block even. There's no heter for that. Now the reason why I'm stressing it is because there's a different halacha. There's a halacha which people confuse it to halachas, and that's where this mistake is coming from. There's a halacha that when you eat shalosh shudas, and you want to break up the suda to eat shalosh shudas, so what do? You bench, you walk around the block, and you sit down again and eat shalosh shudas. You eat the third suda. So people say, the same way over there, I could wash, bench, walk around the block, come back and eat again. Same thing here. I could bench, walk around the block, and start another suda. But it's two totally different halachas. I'll tell you very quickly why. Maybe in a different show we'll explain the whole lumdus behind it. By suda shlishis, what you're doing is the halacha is you're
mincha before it's
but not always. Not always. A lot of times on Yom Tov, a lot of people will just bench, walk around the block, and sit down and eat another suda, and that night they go to shul, daven mincha ma'ariv. Especially at Pesach, Chalis, for Shabbos, you do it also. There's times that people bench, and that's brought down Allah. Allah says in Siman I think Rish Sadik Vav, that if someone goes ahead and he wants to eat Suda Shlishis, he's allowed to bench, stand up a little bit, and sit back down, eat the third Suda. And the reason for that is because there's no problem of bracha she'ein tzricha. You're allowed to bench and wash again, because I'm doing it because I need a third Suda. I'm required to eat 3 Sudas. So you're allowed to bench and wash again because you need the third Suda, you need Suda Shlishis. There's another problem. The problem is, if I'm sitting in the same place and I bench and then I wash again and I continue eating, the Achronim say it's not called 2 separate Sudas. As long as it's sitting by the same table, it's considered one long Suda. So if you bench in the middle and you wash again, you didn't break up the Suda. Therefore it says, get up, walk around the block a little bit, and sit back down, you just broke up your Suda. That helps only to break up my Suda. But for bracha she'ein tzricha does not work. Bracha she'ein tzricha, to bench and to wash again, if you have no reason why you're doing that for, you're not allowed to stand up and walk around the block and sit back down. Therefore here, Erev Tisha B'Av, there's no reason why you're benching and washing again. There's no din of Suda Shlishis. You happen to be, you want to eat a big Suda beforehand, and it shouldn't be Suda HaMafsekes. For that, you can't just bench and walk around the block. For that, you have a problem of bracha she'ein tzricha.
Do you have to wash?
Suda HaMafsekes?
People just have the eggs and the ashes.
The reason why they wash is because if you don't wash, then it's not called the last Suda. The halacha is the last Suda of the day is Suda HaMafsekes. So if you're going to eat a whole big Suda and then bench, and then just eat eggs with ashes, your last Suda of your day was the Suda beforehand. The halacha is not you have to eat eggs and ashes. The halacha is that the Suda before the tainis is called Suda HaMafsekes. The only way you get out of that is I make another Suda. But if you're not making another Suda,
dessert.
Huh?
You can't have a dessert because you're not allowed to have too many cooked foods.
Right, that's the problem. That's the problem. You can't just have it for dessert and sit down because that's the Suda HaMafsekes. And then you ate more than one tafshil.
It doesn't have to be a small meal. It has to be a meal of only one food. You could eat a dozen eggs
Yeah,
at that meal.
Yeah, you can. You can't have more than one tafel of sekas, right?
So you could have a big meal.
You can have a huge meal.
The bread.
You can have a huge meal.
The bread is
Yeah,
And the bread.
you can have a very big meal. You should have a big meal, but the problem is, it's very hard to find when you want to eat the 4 times. You eat a few different types of things.
Right.
To eat just one thing, you don't get filled with that. So if people want to have a big suda beforehand,
Right.
to fill themselves up for the tinus, and then afterwards suda of sekas. But if you're not going to have another suda afterwards, you're just going to bench and then have to eat an egg. So the last suda was the suda of sekas. Anyway, after chatzos, if it's the last suda before the tinus, it's called your suda of sekas. So if you're not going to wash again later on, so that means your last suda was suda of sekas, and you ate more than one tafshel. That's why you have to bench and wash again later on. But to go wash, we're just walking around the block, you have a problem. That's why the minhag is to go ahead and to daven mincha in between. Right, the Moshe says, "U'minim b'chol gliz Ashkenaz lechol suda k'vur koydem mincha, v'achar kach mispal mincha, and then you daven mincha, v'oichlin suda mafsekes." After you daven mincha, there's a most shuls, sure they have here also, a mincha like 2 hours before the tinus. Do you have one here?
Yeah,
He's not having it.
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock is too early. It's way too early.
I mean, the cold oven at 6, but they won't have it.
6 o'clock is more like it. 6, 7 o'clock. Even 7 o'clock.
I don't know what they're doing this year.
Even
See the
7:30.
bulletin when it comes out.
Even 7:30. Most places will have a mini
They're not
mincha
gonna dub you.
2 hours, an hour and a half
Until
before
9 o'clock
shkia.
anyways, right?
Yeah,
But if you didn't have that issue, you could just eat, 4 egg sandwiches
yeah.
if you want to.
That's no problem. But most people don't do that.
So
With
that
ashes.
requires washing to make it a suda, right? And that means that necessitates you have to have bread then.
Yeah, you have to have bread.
So how can you have bread and egg at the same meal if it's two? Isn't
That's
that,
not a problem. Eggs and bread is not a problem.
oh, it's not a problem.
No.
It's still considered one.
Yeah, yeah.
Before a fast, they will make it throw up. It's a bad thing.
Yeah, I find a lot of people do this, and I think it's a mistake. To bench and then to wait 10 minutes or walk on the block and then wash again is an issue. Mincha should be davened in between. Let's have a long break. We have an hour break in between, okay. Then I can have. Most people don't do that. They'll eat. If you have an hour break, if you have an hour break in between, then you're okay. But just to walk around the block for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, it's an issue.